Welcome back for another live tutorial. I am so excited to be back with you guys. Today we're going to be drawing this cozy kind of mid-century inspired tea set in Procreate. We're going to be doing this using the default Procreate brushes. So you don't need any like third-party or extra brushes to draw this today. Everything you need is already built into Procreate, which is really cool. And this particular drawing has some really essential skills in Procreate, like working with Alpha Lock and how to add texture, do a little bit of shading, and some really cool techniques. So I'm really excited about this drawing today. But first, I just wanted to introduce myself, just in case you're new around here. I'm Lisa Bardot, and I am an illustration artist, a teacher, and all-around creative person. And I love doing anything creative, but especially drawing on the iPad. I discovered Procreate, 2013 or 2014? Many years ago, and I've just been addicted to it ever since. I do all kinds of creative things, but like there's something about digital art that just speaks to me, and it enabled me to just make, because it was so, I don't know, easy to do, or it was very satisfying to do, it made me want to make art more. And I think that's the best thing about any medium is like if you find a medium that you love the act of doing it, like you'll do it more often and you'll get better at it. And that's what I love about working in Procreate. So yeah, I am Lisa. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are in this picture, but they're all little, like their ages like 2.5, 5.5, and 9. So we're in the thick of it.
Almost 9.
Almost 9. I mean, he's like a couple weeks away. So yeah. So I'm the owner of Bardot Brush, and I make Procreate brushes and tools for joyful art making. So I have a ton of Procreate brush sets. I work really hard to make them feel fun to use. That's kind of like my most important criteria whenever I make a brush set. So I've made all kinds of really fun brush sets over the years, and you can find them all at bardotbrush.com. And then this year we launched Art Makers Club, and Art Makers Club is a joy-filled community and learning hub for digital art makers. And basically this is our site for anybody that likes to learn from me to come together, and I've got a lot of courses there. We do live events every month, really fun tutorials. Like last month or this month we did block printing in Procreate, so like kind of carving like lino cut or woodcut, that kind of style. We've done like celestial style art. Next month we're doing, I'll show you this, I have it up. We're making cookies. We're having a cookie making party on December 2nd. And I made a whole brush set to help you, like with little cookie cutters and everything, and all the texture and everything to do this type of art. And we're gonna make cookies and decorate them together, and it's gonna be so fun. Like I think I'm most excited about this out of anything we've ever done so far. It's gonna be amazing. So I can't wait for that. And we do all kinds of fun stuff. We've got a community there. We've got, just all kinds of stuff. It's really fun. So artmakersclub.com if you want to check that out. And then the other thing that's going on is during this live, we're giving away an iPad. So at the end, we'll be doing our iPad giveaway. You have to be here in order to win. And I'll tell you how to enter. So you can enter at bardotbrush.com/giveaway. So just go to that page. It might be a little, not working so well at the moment because a bunch of you guys are on there, but you know, you'll have a while to enter, so you can come back before the live is over and enter if you can't get to it right now. But we're gonna be giving away a master bundle, which is my complete collection of Procreate brushes. We're gonna be giving away an Art Makers Club membership for an entire year, so you get an entire year of Art Makers Club membership. And then of course the iPad. So go ahead and bardotbrush.com/giveaway. If you can't get through the second, keep trying. You've got some time. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, let's go ahead and get started drawing. And just so you guys know, this is what we're gonna be drawing, and I'm really excited about it. It's gonna be fun. Okay, I'm gonna go into Procreate. Get out of there. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with a new canvas. I'm gonna drink a sip of tea because I just talked a lot. Okay. So we're gonna tap the plus sign in the upper right. And the canvas size I'm going to be using today is 2800 by 3500 pixels. I have a canvas canvas template saved for that size, but if you don't have that size, you can go up to this little like rectangle with a plus sign in it, and you can type in, as long as it's set to pixels down here, you can type in 3800, what did I say? 2800 by 3500 pixels. So 2800 by 3500 pixels, and then just hit create, and you can create a canvas that way. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna start this illustration with a sketch. But actually, before we sketch, we're gonna be using brushes from like a lot of different brush sets. So I'm gonna show you a quick way to kind of make a temporary brush set. So we're gonna go over to our brushes to begin. Actually, we'll go to our colors and just choose black. So go to your little color picker here and just choose black down here, or dark colors, fine. And we're gonna go into the built-in Procreate brush sets. We're gonna start with the sketching set. So go ahead and go into the sketching set, and you're gonna select the 6B pencil brush. So 6B pencil from the sketching. We're gonna go through the different brushes right off the bat. Okay, so 6B pencil, and then just draw a little squiggle on your screen. That's all you need to do. And once you've done that, we're gonna grab our next brush. So we're gonna go into the brushes, and the next one we're gonna get is from the inking set. So go into the inking set, and we're gonna get Studio Pen. So select the Studio Pen from the inking set, and then just do another little squiggle. And then we're gonna get our next brush, and this is gonna be in the artistic set. So it's got a little like paint palette icon for the artistic set. And this brush is called Old Beach. So the next brush is Old Beach from the artistic set. Okay, and then we'll draw a little squiggle there. So far we've gotten 6B pencil from the sketching set, Studio Pen from the inking set, and Old Beach from the artistic set, and we're gonna get one more. So the last one is in the organic set. It's kind of near the bottom. It's got a little leaf icon, organic. And this brush is called Bamboo. So get Bamboo, and then just draw a little squiggle. So we've got 6B pencil, Studio Pen, Old Beach, and Bamboo. And
say that one more time.
Okay, yeah. So we've got 6B pencil, which is in the sketching set. We've got Studio Pen, which is in the inking set. We've got Old Beach, which is in the artistic set. And then we've got Bamboo, which is in the organic set. And as long as you've drawn a squiggle with each of those on your page, we're gonna go all the way to the top of our brush library. So just scroll all the way up to the top and go here where it says recent. If you don't see it, just pull down so you can see where it says recent. It's got a little star. And you should see those brushes. Let me clear that one. You should see those brushes here in the list. And you might see other brushes. This set, recent, contains all of your recently used brushes. So you might see other brushes that you've used recently. But we're gonna pin these to this set so we have sort of a temporary brush set, and we don't have to like bounce around between different sets. So this is just kind of speed up the process a little bit. So if you've got all 4 of these brushes, what you're gonna do is you're gonna swipe to the left on each of the brushes. So this one's Bamboo. Swipe to the left and just choose Pin right here. And you'll see it has a little star, and that brush will automatically appear at the top of your recent set for as long as you have it pinned there. So this is a really good way to, like, if you're using a bunch of different brushes from different sets and you wanna just like have them all quickly there for you to access, this is a great way to do it. So go ahead and swipe to the left on all the brushes, all 4 brushes, and choose Pin. Swipe to the left, choose Pin, and swipe to the left and choose Pin. So I've just pinned all 4 of those brushes. I'll drink some water. Okay. All right, so now we don't have to bounce around between brush sets, which is really nice. We're gonna start with the 6B pencil brush. So choose the 6B pencil brush. Again, we found that in the sketching set, but we've got it here in our recents. And let's clear out this squigglies. We don't need them. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can take 3 fingers and do sort of a little scrubbing motion like this, like a Z. and you can clear it out, or you can go up here to the layers, tap the layer and choose clear right there. So that's the other way that you can do it. All right, now we're ready to sketch. We're doing okay over there in the chat, Jeff? Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna start by drawing our tea kettle. So I'm just gonna draw it here in the middle and then move it into place. So for the tea kettle, it's gonna be kind of this like tapered shape. So I'm gonna draw kind of a long rectangle that's sort of tapered up at the top like that. Well, 2 lines really that taper. And then at the bottom, we're gonna draw kind of a rounded shape because it's like a round kettle. And then the other part, you know, we're gonna draw another round line like that. So now it's kind of like this tapered cylinder shape. And then we're just gonna draw like a curved line at the top because this is, whoops, this is kind of our like curved lid, like that. Like there's like a, you know, like a spherical lid on top. And while we're here working on the lid, I'm gonna zoom in and we're gonna draw like a little handle. So just draw like a little oval at the top, kind of like that. And then 2 lines that kind of, they can come out like that a little bit, taper out. Oops, kind of crooked. Do that again, like that.
And what percentage is the brush set to right now?
Oh, good question. I always forget. I'm gonna try and make a point to tell you the brush sizes, but I have it all the way at 100%. It's a sketch, so it's not gonna be, you know, it doesn't really matter if you like a smaller brush size for your sketch, you know, it's not the final art, so whatever you like. So I drew an oval with 2 little lines coming out and then like another oval right there. So that's gonna be like our little handle to pick it up. And then I'm gonna draw like a handle to hold the whole thing, I guess. And this is gonna kind of go out to the side straight and then down and kind of curve around like that. And you can draw any type of kettle shape that you want. So if you wanted to do different shapes for your kettle, like there's so many different designs when it comes to like a tea kettle or a teapot or whatever, you can do it however you want. So I'm doing it like this, and then I'm just gonna thicken up this handle by drawing another line kind of parallel to the line I just drew. And then we get to do our little teapot. Oh no, this spout. The spout, that's what it's called. So for this spout, it's gonna be like a tapered shape that kind of goes up that, but I want it to kind of curve around. So I'm gonna draw kind of a curving line that goes like that, kind of like S-shaped. And then for the top line, it's gonna start kind of thick here and then be thin here. So we'll see if it comes out good. I'm gonna curve it down. That's not too bad. I'm gonna do it one more time. Curve it down and then over. No, I think it was better before. Curve it down. Oh, geez. Okay, hold on. Sometimes you have to do things a couple times until you like it. That's not too bad. And if you noticed, I was doing a 2-finger tap to undo. So if you're new to Procreate, you can do a 2-finger tap on your screen to undo something and do it, and you can redo it. So there's a little really important feature. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think I'm fine with that. And then I'm just gonna draw kind of like a little curving line to make it look like this kind of spout type shape. Okay, so we've got our teapot drawn, or tea kettle, or whatever it is. I'm gonna move it a little bit because I'm gonna have my tea kettle here, a little cup, and then like a little dish with the pastry over there. So I'm gonna go up to my transform tool, which is this little arrow, and it'll select everything on this layer, which is my sketch. And I'm just gonna move this over here, maybe resize it, put it, I think that looks good. Because I'm gonna make sure that there's room for my dish or my little plate, my cup, and then also some cool like steam coming out of here. So let's do the teacup next. So for the teacup, I'm gonna start with, oops, like an oval like that. I'm gonna try that one more time. An oval. And then I already know this is gonna be too big, but I can resize it. And then I'm gonna kind of draw like a tapered shaped teacup. Again, you can draw whatever kind of shaped teacup you want. And then I'll draw the bottom of it. This line here should be similar to this, or this curve should be similar to this curve, like that. And then I need to put a little plate on here. I think I have enough room. Just like, or not a plate, but like a little saucer. That's what they're called. Saucer. Yeah. And then a handle. I'm kind of running out of space on this side, but I think I got it. So a handle and then another line to kind of thicken it up like that. And it doesn't have to be like, the angles don't have to be perfect. I think it actually works really well in this style. It's kind of quirky. Like all the perspective of everything doesn't have to match. I'm gonna draw a line inside the cup, and this is gonna be like the thickness of the cup, so sort of like the lip of it. Well, it's not perfect, but it's okay. And then like to show the actual T, I'll draw a line like this. So that's like the actual T itself. Maybe I'll erase that a little bit. It doesn't really matter, but there we go. Okay, so we've got our teacup. I'm gonna move this into place now. So I'm gonna go back. I'm actually gonna select it. I don't wanna move my kettle anymore. So I'm just gonna make a selection around this and then move it. So I'm gonna go over here to the selection tool, which is the little S icon, and then just draw. Make sure I'm on freehand. If you're not on freehand, this is what I'm on, freehand. And then just draw around it like that, and then tap this little circle, little gray circle there. And now if I go over to the transform tool, which is a little arrow, I can just move this part of my drawing around, which is nice. So I'm gonna resize it a little bit. There we go, put it right there. All right, we've got 2 elements to our scene. How are we doing, Jeff? Great. Okay, so the last little element to our scene is our a little plate with a pastry on it. I'm gonna do a croissant. So I'm gonna draw a plate kind of like this. And this, like, I'm messing with the perspective here, like, because this one, you're kind of looking at it from a side angle, but this one, you're almost looking at it from like the top of the plate. And we're just gonna go with it because it's like a fun, quirky kind of style. So it's kind of almost like you're looking down on the plate, but that's okay. All right, so for the croissant, I'm gonna draw sort of like an arch like that. And I'm gonna scoot over a little bit. One more time, little arch. And then for the bottom part, it's gonna kind of curve around and then go like that. So like kind of like a crescent shape or like a fat banana. And then to do like the little sections, we're just gonna draw some lines kind of sticking out like that and then like that. So kind of break it into sections. And then just kind of add some like a volume, I guess. Make it thicker here and then even thicker in this middle section. So something like that. It's a little loosey-goosey, but when we do the final art, we're just gonna follow these lines a little bit. So I think I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. So I'm just gonna select around it and shrink it down a little bit. So that way I have room to put some like designs on my plate. Maybe something like that. So I just drew a selection around that, made it a little smaller. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. I'm actually gonna make this a little bit smaller as a whole. Like that. So just kind of move things into position so they're kind of evenly spaced, sort of. And then the last thing we're gonna do is just draw some lines to indicate where our kind of steam coming out of the tea kettle is gonna be. So I'm gonna make it go this way and then curve and then kind of do these like whoosh, big dramatic loopy things. So I'm gonna come out this way and then I go down and actually I'm gonna do it again. So something like that, where you're doing these like whoosh, whoosh, like very, lots of movement to it. And then I'm gonna kind of thicken it up a little bit. It's okay, like I'm kind of thickening it up randomly. Like it can get thinner and thicker in sort of random patterns. So just add another line to it to kind of thicken that up. And that is our whole sketch. Just gonna, if you wanna rearrange anything at this point, you can. I'm just gonna move my little plate over a little bit. But that is the whole sketch. And the next thing we're gonna do is start to add some color to this. You doing good over there, Jeff? All right. Okay, let me drink some tea. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna add some color to this. We're gonna go up to our layers and we're gonna reduce the opacity of this sketch and we're just gonna use it as a guide to draw everything else. So we're gonna tap this little N right here And then just on this slider, this is the opacity slider, we're gonna move the opacity slider down so it's just barely visible. I'm at 8% opacity. And then you're gonna tap this little plus sign here to create a new layer. So tap the plus sign, and then I'm gonna actually move this layer under the sketch. I like to keep my sketch on top so that it's always visible and I can always use it as a guide. So I'm gonna tap this new layer, tap, hold it, and move it down. And then the first thing that I'm gonna do is actually change the background color. So let's go ahead and tap here where it says background color. And we can choose any color. So we're gonna start by selecting a hue, which is in this outer ring. So I'm gonna choose something that's kind of in the like yellowy orange, because I wanna make like a creamy background. So I'm gonna choose like a yellowy orange kind of color. And then here we can choose like the saturation, lightness, and darkness of that hue. So I'm gonna just move it down just a little bit so that I have this kind of creamy color like that. So, oops, I'll show you what that color was. There we go. So if you wanna look at my colors, that's the color that I'm using. Okay, and we're gonna start with our teapot. We're actually gonna draw all these elements as flat shapes, and then we'll add texture and everything to them. So we'll start with the tea kettle. I'm gonna go over to my color picker, and my tea kettle is gonna be sort of like a reddish orange. So I'm gonna move my hue over into kind of an orangey red color, like that. And then I'll move this inner disc, maybe a little more red. You can, you know, like I said, get creative. You can do whatever colors you want, but I'm not going super fully saturated. I'm actually going in this way just a little bit to make it a little darker, maybe a little lighter, something like that. Okay, so kind of like a not fully saturated reddish orange. And now we're gonna switch up our brushes. So I'm gonna go up to the brushes, and we're in this recent set where we made this kind of like temporary brush set and we pinned all the brushes. We're gonna choose the Studio pen. If you haven't done this yet, then you can find the Studio pen in the inking set. So that's a built-in Procreate brush. All right, and now we get to actually draw stuff. So I'm gonna start by doing the body of this kind of tea kettle. So I'm actually gonna draw with both the brush and the eraser. So I'm gonna make these lines actually bigger than I need. So I'm just gonna kind of basically tracing along the edge of this line, but going further than I need it to be. That's probably a bit too much further. There we go. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, like that. And then I'm just gonna connect them there, and I'm going to, yeah, I'm gonna connect it here. Kind of bigger than my sketch a little bit. And
what size is this brush?
Thank you, Jeff. I'm using 36%.
And what brush is it again?
Studio pen from the inking set. And then I'm gonna fill it with color drop. So just drag this little circle and drop it into that closed shape. Make sure it's a fully closed shape. And it'll fill in with color. And then I said I was gonna use the eraser to actually draw this shape. So if I go over here to the eraser without actually touching it yet, make sure you're on the brush, but then tap and hold the eraser, and that will choose that brush as your eraser. Or you can of course tap in and choose it that way, but that's like a quick, as long as you have the brush tool selected, whatever tool you have selected, you could tap and hold another tool, any of them really work that way, and it will choose that brush as your tool. So that's pretty cool. And I'm gonna go down to like 60%, and then I'm just gonna erase this bottom edge. And the reason why I like to do this with the eraser is because it gives these nice like pointed corners versus like if you were to draw this, it would be kind of the rounded corners. So that's why I like to use the eraser to help me draw things sometimes. And I'll do that along the top as well.
Richard was just saying, I can't believe how straight you draw your lines. And I was just thinking about how that is just because you've had a lot of
practice. Yeah, drawing straight lines is a skill that comes with like practice and muscle memory and just like being able to control your hand, just like if you were to play a guitar or other things where you would use your hands to do specific tasks. The more you do it, the better you get at it. They're also like stabilization settings built into Procreate, which are pretty cool. If you have a shaky hand, maybe if you have like a disability or something, they have a really good accessibility settings built into Procreate, which help you kind of stabilize things. So it's pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna do the handle next. Oops, I'm still on my eraser. I gotta go back to my brush. Again, I'm at 36%, and I'm just gonna draw this part and then kind of trace around, kind of following my sketch. There we go. That's pretty thick. There we go. I think that looks good. And then I'll do my spout as well. Oops, I accidentally undid it. It's okay. So when I draw, like when I'm making these shapes in Procreate, I like to start with just big shapes and then kind of add on to them, or even subtract from them like we did with the eraser tool. So starting with a big simple shape and then adding or subtracting to them to make it a more detailed, more, because you could go around and like trace all the way around and do it like that, but this way is a little bit easier. So, okay, we've done the whole kettle. I'm gonna move on to the teacup, and I'm gonna do kind of like a green, almost like my cup that I have here actually. So I'm gonna do kind of like yellowish green here, and then I'm gonna go kind of in the middle, maybe a middle and off to the side, maybe a little more yellow. Yeah, so I'm like almost to yellow, and then I'm kind of like just off the middle over to the right a little bit, and I'll see. Actually, I might make that a little bit darker. That looks good. Sometimes it's good to do a swatch like that because you can see how it looks with other colors on your canvas. So, okay. So we're gonna do similar, well, actually we're gonna do it a little bit different for this one. I'm gonna do the middle of the cup. Actually, no, I'm gonna do it just like I did the kettle. So I'll draw 2 lines here like that. I'm not gonna worry, well, yeah, I'll do these 2 lines, sorry. And then I'll also add the bottom part because we're gonna do everything on the cup all as one layer. And then I'll just draw that part loosely so I make this whole shape, and then I'll fill it in like that. And then I'll use my eraser to kind of erase this top edge like that. Okay. So we just did all of that all as one shape. We're still on the same layer. So we're doing all these first shapes on the same layer. And then I'll do the handle.
Can you show us again color fill on the handle?
Yeah.
And I mean color fill threshold.
Oh, color fill, yes, okay, I'll show you that. So I'm gonna draw both sides of this handle. There's not a lot of room to fill, but I'll do it. So if you're, let me see if I can, this brush, there we go. If you do color drop and it looks like this, and you have these like white lines here, you need to adjust your color drop threshold. So what you do is you do color drop, and then you keep your pencil on the screen, and then you move it to the right. And you'll see this blue bar go across the top, and you just wanna move it as far right as you can so that it's all the way filled in. If you go too far right, it'll start spilling out everywhere, like you probably just saw just a second ago. So just go as far as you need to just fill in the texture. Like if you have a really textured brush, you'll see this even more. Studio Pen's pretty good because it's not super textured. So that's how you can do that. All right, teacup is done. Let's do just our plate, and that's gonna be a yellow color. So I'm gonna go into my yellows and maybe a little warmer yellow. I'm not gonna go fully bright saturated yellow. I'm actually gonna come in. For this piece, I wanted it to feel more cozy. So if you follow me, I love choosing saturated colors. Like I hang out here in this area of the disc because there's really saturated colors, but this one I wanted to feel more like fall, a little cozy, a little toned down. So I'm choosing colors that are toned down a little bit. Like they're still bright because it's me. So just come in just a little bit. And then all you have to do is just draw a circle here.
And what brush is this again?
We're still using Studio Pen from the inking set. I'm gonna redraw that so I can follow my sketch a little bit more closely. There you go. Cool. That is all that's gonna be on that layer. So we're gonna actually make a new layer to do our next set of details, our next set of shapes, which is gonna be like the croissant, the T, and the little wood. We're gonna do like a little wooden handle for that. So we're gonna go up to our layers and we're gonna tap the plus sign to create a new layer. And let's start with our little croissant. So I'm gonna go to my colors, and for the croissants are kind of like an orangey color. I'm actually gonna start with a color, something about right there. So like, you know, brown is really just orange, but like toned down. So I'm in orange, and then I'm about right there for the color, and I think that's a good color. So this, for this piece, this is really easy. We're gonna draw it like this. We're just gonna draw the middle section like that, and then fill it in with color drop. And then we're gonna draw the next section, oops, like this. So it should be a little bit smaller, you know, so you can see the edge of that section. And then fill in those shapes. And then we just draw our little rounded bits on the end like that. And then we have our little croissant. Ta-da! Okay, so we got our croissant, and let's do our little handle here. I'm gonna choose a darker brown for this. So I'm just kind of moving. If you go down in this color disc, you go darker. So I'm just gonna go a little bit darker. I'm gonna go smaller with my brush size a little bit because this is kind of a smaller area. I'm at 25%. And I'm just gonna draw, actually I'm gonna do that same technique with the eraser. So I'll draw it a little bit bigger than I want. Just kind of close that off there. I can actually draw, well, I don't know. There we go. Yeah, I actually just drew that part. So make a closed shape, fill it in with color drop, and then if you did it like me, you can erase the bottom. Go a little smaller with my brush size, like 28%. There we go, and erase. Yeah, I think that looks good for that particular little part. All right, and then the last thing is our little T. So I can probably use the similar color. I'm just gonna go a little bit lighter than the color I'm using now. And then I'm just gonna draw this, again, a bit bigger than I need. Close off the shape like that. And then fill it in with color drop. And then I'm gonna get my eraser and just kind of erase away the top edge of the cup. Oops. Something like this. So it looks like it's in the cup. And then erase the rest away. Cool. All right. And then the other thing we're gonna do on this layer is gonna be our steam. So at this point, we're gonna switch to a new brush now, and we're gonna use this brush to do all of our texture and the like steam and like all the shading and everything like that. So we're gonna switch to the Old Beach brush. We have, again, our temporary set here in Recents, but if you don't have that yet, you can find it in the Artistic set. So Old Beach in the Artistic set. This is a really funky brush. It's pretty cool. It has some like built-in color variations and like a lot of really cool texture. So it's a really fun brush, but it can often be a little unpredictable. But we're gonna just lean into that and go with it, okay? We're gonna switch to white now. So we're gonna double tap close to white and choose a pure white value.
And what size brush are we on right now?
I haven't set the size. And actually I think I'm actually gonna save the steam for the end because I have to texturize the background. So, burp, burp, burp. That was like a rewind sound. We're still on Old Beach, but we're gonna like add texture to all these shapes. So I'll do with the brush size in just a sec, but we're gonna go to our layers and basically turn on alpha lock on these layers to add the texture. So I'm gonna tap on the layer with the cup and the kettle and the plate. And then you're gonna take 2 fingers and swipe to the right on that layer. And you'll see a little like checkerboard icon, and that means that alpha lock is on. The other way that you can turn it on is by tapping the layer and tapping alpha lock in the menu. You can see we have a little checkbox because alpha lock is on. And now basically we can draw we can draw on this layer, but only within the shapes that are already on it. So I can't draw anywhere other than what's already, these shapes that are already here. So it's really good for adding texture to like just these shapes without getting the texture everywhere else. So let's go ahead and start with that. Let's do our little kettle. I'm gonna actually just sample this red color. So just hold a finger down and you'll get this little eyedropper, and you can choose any color. So I'm gonna choose that one. And then I'm gonna choose a color that's just a little bit darker than it to start. Just like a teeny bit darker. So just go down just a little bit. And then for the size, probably, okay, I'm at 54%. I'm gonna go, let's just try going all the way up, 100%. And I'm just gonna loosely like do this. Make sure you don't get it over here because you don't wanna get it on your other stuff in your layer. But we're just gonna loosely add, and you'll see like some really subtle textures start to appear. And this first little pass is just to kind of make it not like a flat color, like this is really flat and boring. So we're just getting a little bit of texture to it. And then once you've done like a few little passes like that, we're gonna just darken the color a little bit more. We're gonna actually go darker and more saturated. So you're going kind of this way with the color on the color disc. Like that, so closer to the edge. And we're gonna add a little texture to this, or I'm gonna go down with my brush size just a little bit, 68%. And then just kind of loose, like very lightly, I'm painting this on. And I'm starting to darken one side of the pot. You guys see that? And then I'm also gonna, maybe I'll go a little smaller, 39%. I'm gonna darken just along this edge here, like the bottom of the spout a little bit. And then maybe I'll darken right here like that, and maybe like along this side a little bit. So I'm just kind of adding shadows. I'm basically imagining I have light coming in this way. So everything that's like, you know, on the bottom or on this side would be a little darker. So I'm gonna get an even darker color now, and a little more saturated, and you could even go a little more red. Like if you're working with reds and oranges, the darker they are, the kind of more red they get. And then I'll just kind of maybe go bigger with my brush size and just loosely add some color there, like that. And then on this side, just like that. Again, it can be loosey-goosey. Doesn't have to be perfect. This little handle might cast a shadow, so I can like add kind of a little bit going that way. I could go even darker, you know, just depends on how dramatic you want the shadows to look. I could go even darker if I wanted. So, yeah. So I think that looks pretty good for my kettle. So I just kind of went darker and darker on these edges a little bit, and I think that looks pretty good. And you could also come in and get a lighter color. Like I could sample this color here, and I could go lighter and then add sort of a highlight, maybe make my brush size bigger. Oops, that's too big. Add a little bit of highlight right there to make it look a little shinier. It's up to you. Cool, I think that looks good. And we're gonna do basically the same thing with our teacup. So we're gonna sample this green. I'm gonna get kind of a darker, well, tiny bit darker here. We'll do that again. Sample the green, get a teeny bit darker, and just do big brush size and just overall add some texture. So just gonna have a little bit of texture. And now I'm gonna go darker and more saturated and maybe a little smaller with my brush size, 43%, and start shading one side here.
So wait, what layer are we on?
So we're on the layer that we drew all these initial shapes on. So where we drew the pot and the cup and the dish, we turned on alpha lock and we're adding texture to them now. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of paint on one side of this. And then also kind of here, because there's some light coming in this way, it's kind of casting a shadow on the plate. So I'm gonna draw some there. I can shade a part of this too, a little bit to the handle, kind of like that. And you can see all these like funky color variations. Like it's got this kind of like light green thrown in there, but we're embracing it. So I'm gonna go a little darker. And then with greens, when you're going darker, they actually get a little cooler. So you go this way into the greens a little bit, and that's how you can get better looking, less muddy looking shadows. All right, so there we go, there. And then I'm gonna just draw like a shadow along this edge here, like that. This brush does have like a, oh, I can't see, but it has like kind of a smooth edge on one side. It's a very rectangular shaped brush, so you can come in and do more shadows. You can make them darker if you want. I'm also gonna add a shadow right here on this side because it's the inside of the cup. I think that's a little too dark actually. I'm gonna go to one of my other colors. A little less dark right there. That's still a little bit too dark. You kind of got to play around with colors because the colors with this brush are a little unpredictable. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. You can always come in and blend it a little more and play with it and make the shadows look like you want them to look, but I think that's looking pretty good. The last thing that I'm gonna do is just add a light colored lip where you see we've drawn our lip in our sketch. So I'm just gonna choose like a much lighter color. That's pretty good. And then go much smaller with my brush size and basically just, oh, that's too small. What am I, 12%? And just kind of draw a lip around like that. So it has kind of a 3D effect to it. Just by adding that little light edge, it really helps with the 3D effect. Okay, so that's our cup. The next thing we're gonna do is just add a little bit of texture to this plate. There's not a lot we need to do here. So I'm just gonna choose this yellow, go a little darker. And with yellows, you gotta be careful. If you just start going darker and darker with yellow, they'll get really muddy. So it's nice to add a little orange when you're darkening a yellow, but we'll just start a little bit darker just like before. Go big with our brush size and just kind of paint on, you can barely see it, some of this texture. Maybe a little darker. And then the only thing we're gonna do here is kind of like, I'm gonna go a little darker, a little tiny bit orangier, and draw like the middle of the plate, because the lip of the plate's gonna be a little bit lighter. So just like darken the middle of it a little bit, and then darken right, like make a shadow for the croissant. So I'm just kind of like darkening it right here along this edge a little bit. Go even darker, a little redder, maybe even darker than that actually. Ooh, that's too dark. Yeah, this brush is kind of funky that way, but there we go. That's not really saturated. All right, well, we've got kind of a little shadow happening. There we go, it works. Again, we're going loosey-goosey, so it's okay. Okay, so we've added all of our shading to these 3 elements. Now we just need to do it on this other layer. So we're gonna go to the next layer, the one that has the croissant, like the tea, and the handle, the little like handle for the teapot. How are we doing, Jeff? Cool, glad you guys are following along. If you have questions, put them in the chat. We can try and help you out. Okay. So we need to turn on alpha lock on this layer. So again, you can take 2 fingers and swipe to the right, or you can tap the layer and choose alpha lock from the menu. Just make sure you see that checkerboard pattern. And let's do the croissant. So I'm gonna select the croissant color. I'm gonna choose a slightly darker color and just kind of brush some texture over. It's like throwing some yellows in there. Again, I said this brush has some weird color things in it. But I've got a little bit of texture. Now I'm gonna go even darker and more saturated. And with the croissant, the lightest parts of the croissant are actually like here in these little like, I don't know, they're not folds, but these like where the different sections are. The middle of the section is the darkest part. So I'm just gonna actually go a little smaller. I'm just gonna darken like the middle part of it, of each little section here, like that.
Wait, what brush is this right now?
We're still using Old Beach. Old Beach. Kind of like that. This is why we haven't turned our sketch off yet because we're still using it.
And what did we use for the shadows then?
We've been using Old Beach for everything.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been using just Studio Pen for all the shapes and Old Beach for all the texture. I'm gonna add actually some texture along the bottom edge of this, and then maybe come back in and add, there we go, a little bit darker, and then a little bit darker down here at the very bottom. So we're basically like, when you're shading something, you're just like gradually adding darker and darker texture, like the further away from the light you go. And then if you wanted to come back and add lightness to these kind of lighter parts, oops, of the croissant on these like little edges, you can do, just like paint that in a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. It's always good to zoom out too. You can see like, oh yeah, it kind of looks like a croissant. We're gonna add our line details, which are gonna help, you know, define everything else, but overall that's looking good. This little one, again, choose the color, get something a little darker, add some texture. I'm gonna darken just this side of it, this, cause it's just like the kettle, it's dark on this, what would this be, the left side? So I'm gonna darken that. Kind of like that. Darken, darken. And then I'm gonna lighten the top part, because again, the light's coming this way, it's gonna hit right there on that flat surface on top. So I'm gonna get a lighter color, and just maybe a little lighter than that. Just like kind of draw this top edge, like that. Looks pretty good. And the last thing, so here you guys can see that real quick. And then the last thing for texturizing is this tea. So I'm gonna select that tea color and go a little bit darker, add my overall texture, the big brush size. And when it comes to the tea, our darkest part is actually gonna be on this side, because the light's coming in, it's hitting the edge of the teacup, and the teacup is casting, like the cup is casting a shadow onto the tea, and then the light is actually hitting it way over here. It's good to observe or even look at reference photos when you're not sure where to put these shadows, but you know, if you're thinking about where the light's, it's gonna be blocked by that side of the cup. So that's why that's gonna be darker. So I'm just gonna get a darker color and kind of heavier pressure on here, and then kind of light pressure to make that kind of like softly transition to this lighter color. But there's our tea, really easy. So just kind of darken one side of that. Okay, so now we're gonna add our, actually we're gonna do some texture to the background. So we're gonna go ahead and create a new layer now. So go up to your layers, tap the little plus sign to make a layer, and then we're gonna move this layer below all the other layers. So we added a new layer, we put it behind or below all the layers. And now we're going to choose the background color. So select the background color. We're gonna choose a color that's just a little bit darker, more saturated. So going, again, that way. And then go big with your brush size for this, as big as you can. And we're just gonna very lightly. The harder you do it, the more solid the texture is gonna be. So lightly, just kind of like go over the whole thing and add a little bit of texture. I zoomed out a little bit because it's hard to get the edges when you're zoomed in. So if you zoom out a bit, it's easier. So just kind of like, you know, you can play with the direction that you're doing it. Just add a little bit of texture to the background so you can kind of see that. And then once you've texturized it, we're gonna add some shadows underneath everything. So we're gonna go a little darker, a little more saturated with our color, like that. And then just kind of plop some dark colors around the bottom of each thing, like this. They can be loose. So we plop some dark colors there. Nice big splotches. And then go a little bit darker, and right near the edge of where the object sits on the surface, there's gonna be a really dark shadow. So I'm gonna go smaller with my brush size. Rotate my canvas so it's a little easier. Actually, I'm gonna go even darker. So I've gotten quite a bit darker. And add a little bit of shadow right there.
What kind of pressure are you using there, Lisa?
I would say right here, I'm using kind of medium pressure. If I was doing it really heavy, it might do that. Which actually doesn't look bad. It shows more of the texture. So kind of experiment, but you just kind of want to have like a little bit darker of a shadow near the edge. Like that. But again, we're keeping things loose. Maybe I'll go a little bigger with this one. There we go. Yeah, I probably could have done those even darker just to really make that shadow stand out. Yeah. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. So at least they feel like they're sitting on something now, and not just like floating on a background. I'm using really, right here, I'm just kind of doing really light pressure, and it's actually making these nice like soft texture, which is kind of cool. If I were to do heavy, it would look like that. So now I'm just kind of playing around. Kind of softening that shadow a little bit. Yeah, this piece is like meant to be very loose and expressive, so we're not gonna be very precise, and that's totally fine. Okay, let's do our steam because that's the last thing we're gonna do with this brush. So I'm gonna create a new layer above the other layers. So now we're on our, I guess, 5th layer. We had our sketch, then we had our like dishes, then we had our croissant and tea, and then we did the background, and now we're gonna do the steam. So go ahead and create a new layer above all the other layers or all the other art layers, not the sketch, and then choose white. And if you double tap close to white like that, it will snap to a pure white value. So that's a trick I use all the time, double tap close to white. And then for the steam, let's see, I don't think I'm gonna go fully big, 53%. And just kind of like, I'm very lightly going over it like that. And actually I'm gonna go even smaller to begin with. And let's try maybe like varying the pressure a little bit. Like sometimes we're heavier, sometimes we're lighter. And you can kind of see, maybe I'll make my sketch even lighter. And if you, where we do it heavier, it's gonna be thick. Where we do it lighter, it's gonna be kind of like more faded. And then take some light pressure and just like add some soft strokes along the edges to kind of make it seem like whooshy and steamy and soft, you know? You can make the steam, yeah, you could do a lot of things with steam. Make it really cool looking. You could add little strokes that kind of like flip around like that if you want, you know.
What percentage is the brush at again?
I've been in the like 40 to 50 range. I'm kind of like going between, but you know, I'm at 45% now and just kind of like adding some steam. If it's gotten too dark and you think it's like too thick, like too white, you can always choose Old Beach as your eraser, like tap and hold it. And then you can erase away parts to kind of make it a little more like see-through and steamy and, oops, maybe reduce the opacity of the brush even. So kind of like play with opacity and pressure to make this kind of like steamy look. I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna just temporarily turn my sketch off so you kind of see. Cool, yeah, I think that looks good. You can always keep playing around with your steam and adding to it and making it look cool, but I think that's good. Let's use this same layer to do all of our line details because that's really the last part of this illustration. So we're on our same layer with the steam. We're gonna switch brushes now. We've been using Old Beach for a long time, but we are right at the end here. We're gonna switch to this bamboo brush. So bamboo was found in the organic set. So switch over to bamboo, and then we're gonna choose, I'm gonna, not completely black because I think that will look too intense. We're gonna go a little warm gray. So go like, oops, I'm gonna be in my yellows, yellowy oranges, and then just go up this way a little bit. And that'll like make it a little lighter and a little more saturated with the creamy orangey color. So let's try that. That's a little, I think that's good. So you can see where I'm at right there for colors. And then I want to go pretty thin with this brush. So let's start with 15%. And if I do light pressure, like you can see here, I get a lot of texture. If I do heavy pressure, it looks like this. So I want to do somewhere in the middle where we can see that texture, but it's still like a line and not just like a spotty little line like that. And all we're going to do is just kind of trace wherever there needs to be a line. So, you know, to define the lid, we need a line here.
And what brush size are we using again?
It was 15%. So I'm just kind of using medium pressure to make a line like that. Oops. Kind of like that, just to kind of show the edge of that. Let's do the croissant here. So these little spots. You can go even smaller with your brush size if your lines seem too thick. This is totally up to your artistic taste, like how you want these lines to look, but I feel like this size is pretty good. Let's see, I think on the T, we definitely need a line here along the bottom, so we'll define the edge of the cup here, and then there. And then you can see that this kind of gray color looks lighter against this dark green. So there's something we could do if we wanted to adjust that, but I think we'll see. You could also add a line there, just kind of wherever you want to give more definition. You don't have to do it. You could do a line across here. I think I had a line across there in my example. This also will add some, I don't know, more personality, I guess. You could do that if you want. But I think that's pretty good. You could also use it to add some like wood grain. No, I don't like that. Change my mind. Don't want to do that. Okay. And then we're going to add just some decoration now. So those are a little bit of lines. And now we're going to add some decoration. So we're going to go to like kind of a creamy white, not a pure white. So something like that. Just in your orangey yellow and then kind of like down from the top a little bit. And I'm going to add some details to this. So all I'm going to do is just draw 3 lines like that. And then I'm going to just add some little leaves. I'm kind of going for kind of a mid-century, I don't know, Scandinavian kind of style design. I probably made those too big. I gotta have room for both sides, like this side too. So these little stems with leaves remind me of that kind of style. Of course, like I said, you can decorate it however you would like. But I think these are cute. That's really cute. And then maybe for the cup, I'm going to choose this yellow. I'm going to do yellow design on it. So I'm just going to choose the yellow from my plate. And then I'm going to draw these like almond kind of shapes. Going across like that. Again, it's like this mid-century style to me. So you could also grab your eraser with the same brush, with the bamboo brush, and then erase them if you want them to be a little pointier, which I kind of do. So I'm just going to thin them out a little bit and make them a little pointier. That looks cute. And we need a little design on our plate here. So I'm just going to choose a white, I think. Maybe a little off-white. There we go. And just do a fun little loopy design loosely around the edge. Ooh, there we go. Cute. And the only other thing that I would do is like these designs would be a little bit darker in the shadows. So this is, if you want to go the extra mile here, turn on alpha lock on this layer we just made. Choose the color here. Just go a little bit darker and then just kind of like darken that a little bit because it would naturally be a little bit darker over there because it's in a shadow. So you can do that if you want. We can also darken these over here. You could also use Old Beach to do this darkening. Probably is a little bit easier actually. Just darken those a little bit because they're in a shadow too. But cool. And then of course, we gotta turn our sketch off. We've been using our sketch the whole time. But let's go up to our layers and turn off the sketch. And then that is the entire illustration. You're all done. How's everybody doing over there in the chat, Jeff?
Everyone's doing great right now.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, this one's a really good illustration. If you weren't able to keep up and follow along, like this replay will be available on YouTube, so don't worry, you can go back and watch it again. But there's a lot of really fundamental skills in this particular illustration, so if you've got lost, recommend revisiting it. It's a really good one. So, yay! So let me pop back over to my slides. And
first of all, are we saving this tutorial?
Yeah, it's going to be available as a replay. Yeah, I said that. That's okay. We're all doing our thing. So, okay. I would love to see your drawing of this particular illustration. I want to see what you guys are going to make. So please do tag me if you're sharing it on Instagram. I'm Bardo Brush on Instagram or Lisa Bardo, and use the hashtag BBCozyTea. And that way everybody can see what everybody else drew. So we can all visit that hashtag and see all the different little tea sets that everybody makes. But I love seeing what you guys make. It's really very thrilling for me. I'm always like scrolling through. We're like, oh my gosh, look at this one. Look at this one. It's so much fun. So please do tag me. I would love to see what you made. I hope you like this piece. Let me know what you guys thought. And if you were able to complete it during the session. I already told you guys about our cookies, but like, I'm really excited about this. This is an event we're doing in Art Makers Club on December 2nd. What else? I have a bunch that I was working on. I'll show you. Look at the little face. It just makes me so happy. Let me get back out of here. I did these like Christmas sweaters. We have like a sweater cookie cutter. The set has like all these different brushes to draw the cookies, the icing, to do the cookie texture, icing texture, and then all these cookie cutter brushes. So you're like already ready to go with the shapes and stuff. It's really fun. I did these snowflakes, which turned out really cute. I did this little snowman. Like every time I see these, they just make me so happy. I like decorating cookies. I eat too many of them. I did this like lettering piece using a font, actually. I started with a font and then made it into cookie, which came out really good. So I'm just really excited about it. So here's the Art Makers Club website. We're having a sale right now if you want to join. You can get $30 off the annual plan or $3 off the monthly plan. And that's a discount that you would get for the length, like for as long as you're a member, you would get that discount like month after month, year after year. So it's a really good time to join because we don't discount the membership much. So yeah, you can lock in that discount for life. But here I am at artmakersclub.com. And here's our little like, let's make holiday cookies. It's going to be here in our calendar. So we've got our calendar and here it is, the cookie decorating party. It's Friday, December 2nd at 10 a.m. So that is just like what, a week or two away? It's not long from now. So yeah, this is where it will be. And it's going to be a ton of fun. So December 2nd. And if you aren't able to join live that day, don't worry, because we always, anytime we do one of these live tutorials, we turn it into a course. So I can show you my courses. So this is our course library. We've got all my premium courses that used to only be available on Skillshare are available here for members, or you can buy them individually here as well. So this was the one we did this month, Block Print Birds, and we've made it into a course. So I'm not logged in, so I can't see the course stuff, but look at some of the student art that was made. It's so cute. You guys just blow me away all the time. But it'll be available as a course with written instructions and like more stuff to help you learn. So if you aren't able to attend live, like it'll be available like as that format afterwards, but lots and lots of fun. I'll just kind of tell you about some of the other things that I do. So another thing that I do is I run Making Art Every Day. And this is a series of drawing prompts, tutorials, resources, motivation to help you establish and grow your art making practice. I have been running this since 2019. We're about to go into our 5th year of doing Making Art Every Day. And that is 5 years of daily drawing prompts. We have a prompt for every day of the year. Like anytime you're not sure what to draw, we are here for you. So basically every month we have a theme, and within that theme, we do like a weekly theme about the theme. This month the theme has been cozy, which is why we did the cozy tea illustration. But we've done all kinds of fun themes like food, people, plants, flowers, sketching things from your life. We had like a school theme. Like we've done so many different themes because it's been almost 4 years of completely, of stuff. So this is completely free. You get an email every Sunday with the week's prompts. You get a few tutorials to help you out. And it's really a great way to help. If you want to learn to draw, my advice is always to draw as often as you can and try a lot of different things. So this is good because you can like draw things you probably wouldn't have thought to draw. You're like, oh, today's prompt is this. I probably wouldn't have chosen to draw that, but let me just try it. And you'll learn a lot by doing that. So I highly recommend joining. We're about to like overhaul it for the new year. It's always really fun at the beginning of the year because everybody's like ready to start a new habit and stuff. But you can learn more about it at bardobrush.com/join MAE, but highly recommend joining. Again, it's completely free. And it's a lot of fun. Shameless plug here because we have a family to support. I talked about we're having a sale on Art Makers Club. So you can lock in a lifetime discount on Art Makers Club. And then we're also doing a sale at Bardo Brush, 30% off everything. So including the master bundle. So you can get this for $70 right now. And if you were to buy all these brush sets separately, it'd be like $212. So it's a pretty good deal. This is like one of the best deals that we have all year. So yeah, we definitely would appreciate your support. As you know, like times are tough lately and we're working hard and doing everything we can to kind of keep this going and keep the business going and take care of our employees and support our family. And it's sometimes a struggle. So we definitely appreciate your support. So if you enjoy learning from me, if you ever found value in anything you've learned from me, I would definitely appreciate your support of our business. So thank you.
Can you give us a little tease about anything special you might be announcing next week?
Sure. Are we announcing it next week? Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I can give you a little tease about something that I'm going to be announcing that's going to be happening next May. Oh gosh, I don't have a good lead in for this to make it sound cool, but we have been working kind of behind the scenes to plan something really fun, an in-person thing, and not just an in-person thing, but like a travel-based in-person thing. Because Jeff and I love to travel. Like before the pandemic, we traveled a lot. We love it. And I have always wanted to do a art retreat where we can travel to somewhere and experience the artwork of the place and then learn to do artwork together, and I can teach and stuff. And that is exactly what we're planning for next year. We're going to be doing an art retreat in Mexico, which I'm half Mexican and I love Mexican culture. And so I'm just like so excited about this. We're going to be learning from local artisans. We're going to be making art with the artisans and then coming back together, and I'm going to be teaching you stuff in Procreate based on the stuff we learned, and it's going to be so much fun. So that's coming up. I'm going to be announcing it soon, and it'll be open for bookings. But yeah, I hope you guys can come, and I think it's just going to be so much fun. I'm so excited. So it's going to be great. I was like, I drew a thing. Oh, maybe it's this. But yeah, here we go. Oaxaca Art Retreat. So if you've never been to Mexico, Oaxaca is a really amazing city. I'm so excited to go there. That's where it's going to be, and it's going to be so much fun.
Now, what new brushes have you been working on?
Oh, good call. I have been working on some watercolor brushes. Let's do this one. Yes, I've been working on a watercolor set that feels more closely to what like watercolor feels like to do. So I'll show you real quick. as we're killing time here. So this one has kind of like a diluted effect, and you can go over your lines and like blend them in like that. And it comes with textured, it will come with textured canvases, so you get this beautiful like watercolor texture. This one is a little bit more, these aren't finalized brushes, but
one more, less than a minute now for Kim.
Come on, Kim. The people want to know. The people want to know. Oh, this is fun. I've got these little dauber brushes where you can like daub little, like it changes colors a little bit, has these color variations. So I've been doing little like lavender plants, lavender flowers with these, and it looks really, really cool. And I've got like a mop brush for doing like big areas of color. I just want to thank everybody else for joining me here today and being here and drawing with us. It really means a lot, and it just makes life more fun when we do things like this together. So again, I'm Lisa Bardot of Bardot Brush, making art every day. I guess I should add Art Makers Club to this slide too, but I don't. So anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And until next time, happy art making. Bye-bye.